Inspiration does exist, but it must find you working. Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming and joining me in my studio. I am snowed in today, so I thought it would be a great day to do some talking to you and take you through painting the edge of a canvas and giving you guys some thoughts about creativity and staying inspired. So let's get into painting the edges. So this painting is like almost dry, and actually it was completely dry, but I added something and then I changed my mind and I painted over it. So there are a few parts on this painting that are not dry yet, but that's okay because I can paint the edges no problem and put it up upstairs so I can look at it and take some photos of it for my shop. So let me tell you what I have to do. I have to lay it on the floor because I have one work table, one work table right here, but it's quite small. It's actually an old kitchen table, and it's definitely not as deep as this painting. So let's put this on the floor and mix up some paints to get these edges painted. So one thing I should mention is that this painting had a really bright like coral pink underpainting. And an underpainting, if you don't know, is basically a wash of color over your entire canvas, or it can be multiple colors. It really depends on just the look you want to go for. And if I bring it in close, you'll be able to see there's like little peaks of this coral color coming through, and especially in the rabbit, you can see a little bit of the coral. It just gives some interest to the painting, but what I should have done is paint my edges the same coral color. So that's what I'm going to do first. And the reason for that, let me bring this other painting down to show you. The reason for that is because, here's the underpainting color for this painting. When I go to paint my edges, I do like to paint like a design on the edge. This color will shine through the edges, and it makes it just so cohesive and lovely and beautiful. So that's what I'm going to do first on this one. Give it a coat of the coral and then move on to the design I want to do. Okay, so you're down on the floor with me now, and I'm going to put this down here as well. This is real life in a small studio. This is the cord to my lights, my studio lights. Let me move this out of the way. All right, so now that we're down here, let's get some color mixed up, and I can tell you a little bit about my creative process. I actually brought you up onto my mixing work table to show you how I make a coral. Now, this is obviously not rocket science, but it's something to know. I mean, it's kind of it can be a tricky color to mix. So I put titanium white, I put this fluorescent pink, and some of this naphthalene red, and then what makes it coral, which I don't know, is always kind of surprising to me, is cad yellow. This is cad yellow light. And then let's put some lids back on here. I have a terrible habit of forgetting to put lids on. So I'm trying to be better about that. And then this is just like a continuous spray bottle. I got it off Amazon years ago. I really like it. All right, let me find something to mix this with. All right, this is looking lovely, stunning. The one thing I do struggle with is knowing if my colors show up accurately on when I record, and I have struggled with this for years. I think this looks absolutely perfect. I keep going back and checking the color against the bits of the underpainting that are showing through, and it does not have to be perfect. I would go crazy if I did anything perfectly. So this is just fine. Let's go paint it. I have a few little things that I'm going to use to prop my stuff up with. my stuff, my painting. That way it will be off the ground so that I can paint all the edges at once, and none of them will be on the floor while I'm painting. So this will give the edges time to dry. What I want to tell you about creativity. I had someone the other day say to me like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize you were a painter," which makes sense because I don't talk about it a ton in real life unless someone brings it up or would like to talk about it with me, or they find out through the internet that I am. And I was like, yes, I am. Yeah, I was telling her like, oh yeah, I love it. I have so much fun. It's like the best gig ever. Yeah. And she is a musician, and she said something like, the muse must come to you all the time. And I was like, no. What are you talking about? No, the muse doesn't come to me. I go to the muse. But seriously, a lot of painting ideas only come when I'm working. They very rarely come to me just on their own. I find that I am most inspired when I'm like working on something, and then it will give me an idea for the next thing. I did this whole little series of watercolor illustrations. It was like ink and watercolor in October, and this one character kept coming back to me, this little girl with this crown on, and it was so special. And I just recently did another one of these because I was like, I'm not done being with this little girl yet. And I had such a beautiful time working on these. Now, obviously, this is going beyond, like you don't have to do a design on your edges, but I just love the idea of a painting getting viewed from all different angles, and you can, edges of the painting like go along with the main design. I did pull a bigger brush out to paint this, but I mixed the color with this brush and then I forgot that I had pulled a bigger brush out. But that's okay, I'm just gonna keep going. I am now further into my creative journey. It's a whole lifelong process really, but I have kind of come to understand my creative process a lot more over the last 5 years. And momentum is such a fantastic word for an artist because this is exactly what needs to be the main thing. Whenever I lose momentum, I find myself not coming down to my studio as often, or sketching, or thinking of ideas. So how do I keep moving forward in a direction of growth? So there's this famous quote, I believe it's from Pablo Picasso, and if it's not, I am so sorry. It is, inspiration does exist, but it must find you working. So what does that mean? Well, if you want to be filled with ideas, you have to be making art constantly. And it doesn't have to be big paintings like this. It can be filling a sketchbook every day, working a little bit towards furthering your artistic ability. I find that when I am making work, I am thinking of another idea as I am finishing up one. And it's just so amazing. Sometimes I'll think like, will I ever have another good idea? But then it comes to me while I work. And oh, I am so thankful for that. So now that these edges are painted, I am going to let them dry, and I'm going to go upstairs and get a coffee, and you do the same, and then we'll come back here in a few minutes and finish up this canvas. Edges for the first coat are dry, and I made myself a cup of coffee, and I thought I could talk for a few minutes about my creative process. So I know that a lot of people struggle to find inspiration. Here is my hot take for you. Sometimes I have to push myself to come down here. Sometimes it doesn't feel natural to paint, but I come down here, I open a sketchbook, and I pull up this list on my phone that I keep, this running list in my notes app of all the things that I like to paint and that inspire me. So like, for example, on this list, there are cats. I like to paint a cat. I love to paint a horse. Anything running, foxes, fox. Let's see, what else? Flying birds, frogs, like pretty much any animal. Love it. I also like to paint people that look a little bit like clowns. I like to give people a little red nose. So anyways, I'll sit down, I'll pull from that list. When I'm not sure what to make, I'll open my sketchbook and I will draw it. Sometimes I'll look up a reference photo, sometimes not, and just the act of me opening it, taking some color and putting it down, I am immediately inspired to keep working. And that idea will spur me on to create something else. All right, let's get finished with these edges and get some hanging wire on this painting and get it up on a wall. Oh, I just mixed up this like warm yellowish white cream color. I am going to do stripes on the edges because I think that'll look really good. It'll complement the design on the front. So what I want to tell you is I did this painting in oil. So here's what you need to know. You can put oil paint over acrylic, but you cannot put acrylic over oil paint. This is just a rule, so you have to like commit it to your brain. So I am doing an acrylic edge, but I will not put acrylic over my oil. So I'm about to paint the dark stripe on my checkered area. And I want to tell you what I usually do. Okay, so to make my blacks whenever I paint, I mix ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. Now, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do this, but I think it makes for a really interesting black because it leans purple. So to make my dark stripes on the edge, I don't have alizarin crimson, surprisingly, in acrylic, but I do have a quinacridone crimson, so I use this as my red, and an ultramarine blue. And I am going to mix it up and make my black, even though it's just a dark purple. It's mixed up. It reads as almost a black, but it's just a really beautiful dark plum purple. So perfect. So it's Monday, and if you can hear my little heater warming up, it wants to be the star of the show. So hopefully you can't hear that. I got a package in the mail, and it's a little worse for wear, but I wanted to open it with you guys. I had this really kind woman, and I hope that there's a note inside, reach out to me about sending me some painting smocks. Ah, so nice. Okay. I'll show you this name. And I'm going to reach out to her and see if they have a website. And she asked like what colors I would want. How fun. I'm gonna look like a doll. So this one is so cute. This one is so cute with that collar. No way. You guys, which one should I wear today? Let's wear this one with these big fat buttons. Thank you so much for sending these to me. How fun are these? They're perfect. Look at this perfect sizing. Let's get into some more studio work today. And I can prance around in my new painting smock. So since it's been a few days, the edges are absolutely dry on this painting. And I am going to get the hanging wire on right now. I'm going to move some things around my studio So I have a little bit of space to put the hanging wire on. I have the D-rings put on, and I buy them in bulk online because I do lots of painting hanging. So here they are. And then when I first started, I was always like, how much do I cut? How much wire? So this is my trick for cutting wire. So you take it across the length of the painting and you bring it out 4 inches, okay? And then you bring it across here, mark it with your hand here, bring it out 4 inches, the same distance, and then you cut there. And it is as simple as that. Put it through here, obviously, and put it through here. Make it tight, and then try to see if you can get enough, the same amount on each side, and twist it. And I do like this simple little knot before I start twisting, and that kind of keeps it nice and tight. And that is as simple as it gets. So now on this canvas, I write my name and the year, and the title and the medium. Painting is called My Wish for You. I titled it My Wish for You, and there's a great reason. These two animals are very symbolic, and I'll start with the horse. The horse represents strength and endurance and independence, and all of these things are things that I want to take with me going forward in my life, and also I want them for you as well. And then the rabbit represents abundance and overcoming fear and good luck. I think these two paired together are such a beautiful representation of strength and gentleness. And I don't know if you can tell, but some of these stripes right here are not matched up perfectly. And here's what I say to perfection. Perfection is so boring. Don't worry about making a perfect painting. No one wants to look at a perfect painting. People are drawn in to look at all of the interesting little bits and color shifts. And if I had painted this photo accurately, it would not have, in my opinion, been as exciting as my loose, expressive brushwork. So that's just something to think about. If you get yourself all caught up on perfection, don't worry about it. No one likes a perfect person, and those don't exist actually anyways. And no one wants a perfect painting. People want the interesting art in their home. So, okay. So if you've made it this far, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? It is so crazy. Like, I know I'm talking to people right now, but you know, I'm here in my studio alone. So I would love to hear from you. What are you painting? Am I inspiring you to paint a big horse? I would love it if I was. What mediums do you like to use? If I haven't mentioned, I am an oil painter, and that is my primary medium that I love. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend trying it. Do you have any questions that I can answer? And is that enough prompts? I don't know. Okay, until next week, thank you so much for joining me. I love you guys, and I am so excited to see where all of our creative paths go this year. Okay,